Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ear training live stream. We're going to be looking into ear training, both EQ, and I'll be showing a sneak peek at our new compression ear training feature. However, I want to welcome everyone. If you are a member, I've already put a link in the event page for this event to join me on screen and do a few rounds here if you're brave enough. Of course, there's no judgment. We're here to learn. But if you'd like to join me on screen and do a few rounds and ask any questions about ear training, feel free. The members already have access to that link. But if you are not a member and you're just watching the live stream on YouTube or on Facebook, I will be dropping that link a little bit later on, and you will have the opportunity to get up here and do a round with us. But I can understand how a lot of people might be nervous to do that, so there's no need to do that. If you are feeling nervous and you don't want to be on screen with me, we'll take a little break between each round so that the audience can leave a comment on what they think the answer is, and we can make a group learning experience out of this this live stream. So let me just jump right into the ear training principles that taught me so much when I was a student, and how we're offering that to Audio University audience and Audio University members. So you may have heard me in the past talk about the ear training method that's based on the vowel sounds. Let me bring up our ear training lab to show you what I mean. So this is the ear training lab, and you can see we're in the EQ mode here, and we're on the Learn page, and this is going to help me explain what I mean by the vowel sound method. As you can see down here, we've got octave band frequencies at 63 hertz, 125 hertz, 250 hertz, 500 hertz, 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, and 16 kilohertz. When I was learning this, I was introduced to the mid frequencies at first, and that is what I would like to show you here today. So let's go ahead and demonstrate what I find to be the best ear training method for learning EQ, for mixing in particular. So when I'm on this dry tab here, it's just going to be pink noise or whatever original signal we're working with no EQ applied at all. And then when I go to the B tab, it's going to apply the filter that is set right here. We're going to start with 250 hertz, but we'll go to the dry tab so that we're not hearing that 250 hertz filter yet. Okay, so pink noise sounds like this, and let me know if the balance of this is off with my voice. I can turn my voice up or down to match this. So here we go. This is just pink noise flat. Okay. Let me know how that balance is. Arco, I see you're in the comments. Let me know if that's just way too loud or way too soft, and I can make that adjustment right here at the start. While I'm waiting for that response from Arco here, in the mid frequencies between 250 hertz and 4 kilohertz, we can listen for a vowel sound. And let me just toggle through these really quickly so that you understand what I mean. Okay, so we're going to start flat or dry, and then I'll go over to the process side. And because I have 250 hertz selected here, and we're boosting it by 12 decibels, we should hear ooh pop out of that pink noise. Okay, here we go. Okay. Arco just said that it's a little loud on the headphones. So what I'm going to do, I do have a little fader right here. Nice. Okay, so I'll turn that down about 25. You guys let me know if it's still too loud, and I can make another adjustment. Okay. All right, back to ID sounds. Let me know in the comments if you heard the ooh sound when I toggled between the two. I'll do it again. We're going to start with dry, And then we're going to go to processed, and you should hear ooh pop out because we have this plus 12 dB boost at 250 hertz. Okay, here it is again, starting dry. All right, let me know in the comments if you hear that. As we're going along, let's just hop between the other mid frequencies. Like I said, each of the mid frequency octave bands have a different vowel sound associated with them. Oo for 250 hertz, O for 500 hertz, Ah for 1 kilohertz, A for 2 kilohertz, and E for 4 kilohertz. And I'll just bounce between each of these so that you can hear that for yourself. And again, just give me some feedback here and let me know if you can hear this coming through. Okay, so on that you should have heard oo, o, ah, a, e. Let me know, because sometimes, you know, I hear it very clearly on this side. Sometimes going through the YouTube streaming, it doesn't really come through as well. Okay, I'm seeing yes from Nathan. I see that Bruce says you only hear white noise. Hopefully, once I applied the filter, you're able to hear the difference on those other bands, okay? Let's do this a little bit more. So this time I'm not going to just show you exactly what the frequencies. Let me rephrase this. And actually, I'll take a step back because we are going to get into where I'll actually test you, and you'll be able to submit your answer, and we'll see if you're correct or not. But before we get there, let's stay in the Learn tab and just hang with this for a second. I see actually Bruce says you're hearing it now. Okay, good. So how does this help us? Let's start there, because we don't often mix in pink noise. This is some feedback I've received in some of my videos on this topic. And that's valid. You know, we don't usually mix pink noise. We're usually mixing music. But learning with pink noise is really effective because pink noise has equal energy per octave, which means that when you boost any of these given frequencies, or rather, when you boost any of these frequency bands that are centered on these frequencies, there is going to be sound there when you're using pink noise, as opposed to using something like very subtle, like a flute or something like that. That exists mostly in the high mids and high frequencies. So if you boost 250 hertz on a flute recording, it's going to be a little bit harder to hear, much harder to hear than with pink noise. But there are gradations between that really sparse source material and pink noise. And one first music-based practice that I would recommend trying is like a full drum kit. Okay, so let's go into the settings, and I will go down here and we will select drums as the source, and we'll give that a listen with each of these frequency bands boosted. Yep, and I'm hearing to please boost my voice a little bit. So I'm actually going to turn down the pink noise, or I'm going to turn down the Ear Training Lab so that my voice is louder in relation. That should allow you to turn up your speakers. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be drums. Again, we're going to start with no processing, and then I'll swap over here to the processing. And you should hear those same vowel sounds that we heard with pink noise, even though it might be a little bit more subtle. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so let me know in the comments, did you hear that same thing that we heard with pink noise, even when I played it with drums? I heard it over here. Yep, I'm seeing definitely, yes, you can hear the texture change. That's a good way of saying that. All right, yes, very clear, good. So the idea is that we train at first with pink noise just to get an understanding of where these different vowel sounds are and what frequency band they relate to. And then we move on progressively to more and more sparse source material. So like a drum kit has a kick drum, it's got toms, it's got snare, it's got everything from those low frequencies all the way up to the cymbals and the hi-hats. So in that way, drums are very similar to pink noise because they have energy at all of these different octaves throughout the spectrum. But then we can eventually move into things that are even more sparse than that. So let's take, for example, like this acoustic guitar. And actually, let's go with the piano here. And I'll play this. Okay, so there's energy throughout the mids, which is what we're working with, but it's a little bit less obvious now than the drums, and it's definitely less obvious than the pink noise. And let me show you what I mean. We'll go through that same exercise. I'm just going to toggle between them here in the interest of time, because I really want to get to the point where we're all familiar with how this works and we can start actually doing some training. So here's just flat, and then I'll apply the filter. We're listening for ooh. Okay, this time we're going to listen for O. Okay, this time we'll listen for Ah, 1 kilohertz. This time we'll listen for 2 kilohertz, A. Okay, and lastly, 4 kilohertz, E. And it's interesting, I'll just note that for me, that E, it kind of came in the air of everything. It wasn't even necessarily the piano itself. It was sort of just the environment around it that changed. So this is an ear training method that I think can be extremely effective. You can try the ear training lab yourself. There's a QR code right here, and there is a link down in the description below. That will allow you to try out what you've just seen here on the Learn tab, but you'll also be able to check out the Practice tab, and that's kind of what I want to get into next with those who are joining live here. So if there are any members who are brave enough to join on screen with me, even if it's just a microphone, then we can make this an interactive thing. But again, you know, if I'm being honest, I'm a little bit shy, believe it or not. And I could understand not wanting to get up in front of a big YouTube audience and be put on the spot like that. So it's okay. We can do this whether someone joins or not. But if you do want to join, go ahead and click that link in the event page. But let's make this interactive with everybody watching this right now. So what I want to do is, instead of being on the Learn tab, let's go over here to the Practice tab, okay? And I'm going to go into the settings, and I'll say build a custom practice session. And we're going to stick with a mode called matching. We're going to stick with octave bands, not third octave bands. This is something for our members as they progress through our curriculum. But it's easier to start with octave bands. Let's start with boosts, just 1 filter, not 2 or 3 filters. Again, that comes later on. We'll stick with 12 dB boosts for now, but you can totally change that as you'd like. And then let's go to just the mid frequencies. Okay, so we're working with these. And now here we are. So the way this works is that it's going to play the dry, unaffected signal when we're on channel A. Then when we go to channel B, it will apply one of these filters with a plus 12 dB boost. And then when we go back to C, it's going to sound dry or unaffected at first until we guess which one it is. And then hopefully C and B will sound the same. So let me do a demonstration for you right now so that you can hear what I mean. And I'll actually just go back to the drums because, like I said, it's more practical than pink noise, but it's also pretty accessible for those who are just getting started. Okay, so here we go. We're going to play it flat first, and then we'll apply a filter, and then we're going to guess which filter has been applied over here. Okay, so this is flat again. What vowel sound do you hear popping out when I go to channel B? Okay, we're going to try this one more time. Which vowel sound do you hear popping out? And what's the corresponding octave frequency band down here? So now we're over here on channel C, and right now that's exactly the same as channel A. It's just unaffected. So the vowel sound that I heard pop out is ah. And that would correspond with 1 kilohertz right here, ah. So let me just go through as if I were taking this. I'll play it here. I hear ah pop out. So then I apply it right here. And now B and C should match, and they seem to. So we've got it correct. So there we go. That's round 1. Let's just do another round. However, it seems, I just heard a little beep. It seems we might have somebody who has joined. It looks like Mac is here. Mac, can you hear me? Let me get that QR code off your face here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool.
So, Mac, you're a longtime member. I think you're a founding member, in fact. So thanks for being here and having the bravery to jump up. Again, this is no pressure. You understand how it works. Let's just go with the mid frequencies with the drums, and we'll do a plus 12 dB. And you can give me your answer, but also since you're up here, let me know if you have any questions or any struggles along the way, okay?
Got you.
Okay, here we go. All right, Mac, what do you think? And those in the member or in the comments can go ahead and let us know what you think is being boosted by 12 dB when I go to the target.
1K.
You think 1K? All right, Mac, you even left the comment in there. Love it. Who else? What do you guys think? Do you think Mac is correct here? 1K. Let's put it in here. And just to check our answer, when we go through this, now that we've applied 1K to our answer, B and C should match. So here's A, the original. Here's B, the target. And here's Mac's answer. I think you got it. Nice. All right. Well, that one was easy. Let's go on to another one. Hopefully it'll be a little different this time. All right. So we're going to go again. What do you think, Mac?
That has to be 1K again.
Correct. All right, let's try another one.
$250.
Okay, so interesting. This is what we're supposed to do. So you go from dry to target, and you heard ooh, so you said 250, and then we applied that here onto our answer. But we go back between B and C now, and they don't quite match. So I'll ask you this: do you think it is higher or lower than 250? And another way to say it is like, is it sharper? Is it sharp or flat of 250? And in this case, it's kind of easy because we're
Sharp.
at the boundary. You're thinking that it's sharp, it's higher than 250, and let's just demonstrate that for the audience here, okay? So here's with the target. Yeah, and you see how that did shift down. But 500 is right there. And is that your final answer, Mac? 500? Okay. Oh, okay. He's actually gone silent here, and that's okay. So you can type in the answers. Okay, 500 hertz is correct. Okay, nice. Let's do one more. And everybody, you can participate with this in the comments. And Mac, since you're going quiet, I'm going to go ahead and take you off screen, and we will have you answer in the comments as well. So let's do one more like this with drums, plus 12 dB in the mid frequencies. Here we go. Here's dry again. And now the target. Okay, leave your answer in the comments and let's see. Mac, you're getting some love here. Good on you. It does take courage to step up. Nice. I'm seeing Mac answers that's 250. I see Guitar Fumar says 250 hertz as well, which would correspond to the ooh sound. Let's do it one more time and see if you agree with these participants. All right, here we go. Dry first. Okay, here's dry again. Let's apply 250. That seems to be what everyone's saying. Nice. All right, we're getting there. It seems that Arco, one of our members, has joined here. I'll bring you up, Arco. Can you hear me? Arco, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nice, nice. All right, let's do this. Let's do one at 12 dB boosts, and then I'm gonna challenge you a little bit. Okay, we're gonna take it down to 6 dB after this one, but for right now, we'll just do another 12.
Okay.
And we'll start with drums.
$1K.
Before I go to the answer, what does the audience think? Do you think Arco's correct? 1 kilohertz? I'll play this dry and then go to the target one more time. And we've already applied our target curve to channel C. So if B and C match, then Arco got it correct. And if it doesn't match, then Arco got it wrong. So let's try it here. Moment of truth. That is correct. Nice. Okay, good job, Arco. Let's take this a little bit further, okay? Because a lot of comments I've heard the thing is that when I learned this in school, it was undeniable because you learn it and you practice it for like a week, and then you go back to a mix and you start hearing it, and it's like, wow, this really, really helps. But then there are some valid concerns that people post on my videos because that's just a very short video that I show pink noise with or something. So we already talked about the idea being that pink noise has every frequency. Regular instruments have many frequencies, but not every frequency. And we've already demonstrated that you can apply this same principle to drums. But then the next comment that often comes up is like, well, 12 dB, that's a lot. You know, and yeah, you're right. We start with 12 dB so that we can hear it clearly, and then we progressively move down in how much is being boosted. So I'm going to go back here and I'll say build a custom session. And this time we're going to stick with matching. We'll stick with the settings, except gain. We're going to go to 6 dB instead. Let's move this down. And we'll stick with everything else being equal. And here we go. So this one, it's going to be more subtle, but I think you've got it. Okay, here we go.
$500.
So you think 500? Okay.
Yeah.
And those watching on YouTube, what do you think? Is Arco correct? Is it 500? That would be O. Or is Arco incorrect? And if he is, then give us a different answer. So let's listen to it again so that we can have some of those answers come in. Okay, I'm going to give it a little bit of time to breathe here, Arco, because I want to make sure that this is feeling interactive with everybody who's watching on YouTube. So we're seeing some come in, says 250, some say yes, it's 500, some say 1K. This person says more like 1K. All right. Some say 500 as well. Okay, so the moment of truth now is to go to the answer, and we're going to see if your answer 250 or if your answer 500 matches the target. Okay, so here we go. Flat and to the target and to your answer. Okay, so those seem to not match, right? B and C, and again, to demonstrate that, here's the target. So do you hear it matching on your end, Arco, or do you hear, is the filter actually, is the target lower or higher than 500?
It's not matching. I think it's 250.
Okay. So that would mean that what's on C, 500, feels higher than what it actually is on B, right? And let's just demonstrate that for those watching, okay? So here was Arco's answer. And here was the target. And Arco said he thinks it's 250. Okay, and that does seem to match. So there we go. Nice. Okay. So nice job adjusting there. Now, you know, this is where we start in the ear training course for our members. And we start with 12 dB boosts, and then we eventually get down to 6 dB boosts. But, you know, it's not just the amount of gain that differentiates this exercise we're doing from an exercise of actually mixing, right? And another thing that we would learn if we want to actually apply this to mixing is just the way this is set up, right? Because in a real mix, something is out of balance, and then you make an adjustment. And you try to make it not out of balance. Here, in matching mode, what we're actually doing is we're hearing what is in balance, and then it's giving us something that's out of balance, and we're trying to make it also out of balance. You know, because these recordings, they sound pretty good as they are, flat. And then when we go over to the target, it sort of messes something up, and then we try to mess the same thing up over here. But in a real mix situation, often how it works is that it starts messed up, for lack of a better term. It starts with an imbalance, and it's up to us to apply the opposite filter in order to make it sound right. And I know you've been mixing for a while, Arco. Does that sound fair? Like in a real mix, you're actually hearing something for the first time out of balance, and it's up to you to identify where it's out of balance and fix it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the way we do that in the ear training lab, as you know, Arco, because you've been a member for a while as well, is that we use what's called RTF, or return to flat. And this is something that my teacher taught me when I was in college. And so what return to flat will do is that B has the mystery EQ, and when we go to C, it'll still be there. And if B boosted 500 hertz, then when we click 500 hertz, it's actually going to cut it, and that will return it to flat. It will return it to what was on A originally. Okay, I'm going to go back to 12 dB here, because I want this to really, really come across well on the YouTube stream. But again, anybody who wants to try this out, you can use the link in the description below the video, and you can try this out yourself. You can build your own practice and see for yourself, okay? But here we go. We're going to start return to flat round 1 with Arco. Here is flat. So there's a frequency filter applied, and it's still applied here, but we need to apply an opposite filter to make it sound flat again. So I'll go through that again for you, Arco.
Okay.
Okay, Arco's saying 2K, so that would mean that when we go to C, it takes it back to flat, and it does seem to match A, so I'm going to go ahead and submit that. Correct. There you go. Nice work. So let me go ahead and, Arco, I will take you off screen for right now, but if you want to hang out in the lobby, I might pull you back up a little bit later. I'm now going to drop this link into the YouTube comments and the Facebook comments. I'll say join me on screen to try it out. And I'll put a comment or a link right there. And if there's any brave souls out there who are interested in jumping up here like our 2 members have, then feel free. Like I said, there's a link below. You can't click it on screen, but if you go down into the comments, you'll find that link, and that will take you on screen to work with this. While we're waiting, I also wanted to say another thing, which is that, when you're mixing, you can't actually toggle between what's correct and what's incorrect. You basically just start with a thing that sounds the way it does, and it's working within the context of a larger mix, and you have to make a decision as an engineer. Should I boost or cut a frequency within this to make it fit with everything else better? And so practices are more so an effort to create reference points in your mind, right? It is going to help you with mixing, but you should still practice mixing, okay? Because mixing is a little bit different. But if you are a mixing engineer, or if you're a musician who wants to make their music sound better, doing this practice here will be a great augmentation to your existing music production practice. I want to reiterate that again, because at Audio University, we really focus on, it's not just about theory, it's not just about practice, it's also about getting feedback on your work, and it's also about sharing that stuff with community and learning from other people. And there are different ways to get theory. You can look on YouTube, you can watch our courses if you're a member, And there are different ways to do practice as well. There's obviously like going and doing shows if you're a live sound engineer, or there's mixing tracks that you download from the internet if you're a mixing engineer, or there's mixing your own music and recording your own music. That's all practice, but another way to practice in a more controlled environment is what we're trying to facilitate for you right here. And if you want to try out the ear training lab for yourself, you can go into the description below the video and click the ear training lab link and try it. There's also a QR code right above here to try it yourself. And if you're interested in taking this to the next level, we have the members only levels page, which actually works on a weekly basis to make this progressively more difficult. So at the beginning of the course, members come in not knowing anything. And if you do know something, it's all right. It advances pretty quickly. But you come in as a beginner, let's say, and we start with 12 dB boosts. And then as you progress through our ear training course and the membership, there's an accompanying exercise set for where you are in that course. And we'll practice with different types of music, and we'll practice with 6 dB boosts. We actually then move into cuts so that you can hear what a cut sounds like. And you can hear a 12 dB cut, 6 dB cut. And then we'll eventually, even if you keep going with us, we'll teach you how to hear multiple filters at once. We'll teach you how to hear third octave frequencies. And let me show you what that looks like here. So if I go to build a custom session and I go to third octaves, check this out. Now, if I say all frequencies at third octaves, that's going to give us what you'd actually find on a 31 band equalizer. So it's not just 250, 500, 1 kilohertz, and so on. There's actually the third octave bands between that. 250, 315 hertz, 400 hertz, 500 hertz, and so on. So let me actually get into here to learn so I can show you what that sounds like. Okay, I'll play 250, and then I'll play 500 hertz, and then I'll start to demonstrate some of the frequencies between those. And the way I think about it is that if 250 hertz is oo and 500 hertz is o, then 315 hertz is 2 parts oo to 1 part o, and 400 hertz is 2 parts o to 1 part oo. Okay, you'll hear what I mean. So let's go dry first. Here's 250 hertz. Then to 500 hertz. Back to 250 hertz. And then let's hear 315. Versus 400. Let's let our ears reset to what this drum's sound actually sounded like from the beginning. So you can hear that we actually, we start at pretty much the basics, and that's 12 dB boosts in the mids only. And then we progressively get more difficult. So, I just wanted to share that the videos I make, I try to keep them short and I only get to the basics. But if you become a member, there's also a link below for that. Whether you join our studio program or our live sound program, there's a link for both of them below. We give you access to the actual curriculum behind our ear training course, and that will take you beyond the basics you might have seen me share in my videos. Looks like we have some some viewers joining here. So I'm going to bring up Guitar Fumar here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Howdy.
Hey, how you doing? I can hear you as well. So I think you have a pretty good understanding. You've been here since the beginning of the stream, I believe, right?
Just about, yep.
So I don't know. Do you want to try drums, maybe a different instrument, or would you like to try maybe pushing this to the return to flat mode or the matching mode? It's up to you. You go ahead and pick the first one, and then I'll pick the second one for you. Okay.
Let's do a return to flat on acoustic.
Okay, so we're going to go to return to flat here. We'll do an acoustic guitar. I'm going to do just the mids for you here. And we'll do just the octave bands. And
Beautiful.
we'll select, yeah. So we'll select this here. And then in the settings, I can just go up here and find that acoustic guitar. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with flat. And just as a reminder to those who have maybe just joined, in return to flat mode, the way it works is channel A is flat unaffected. We go to channel B and we hear a mystery filter applied. And then when we go to channel C, that filter is still applied until we apply the opposite of that filter here. It's similar to a mix. You hear a sound that's kind of out of balance, and if it's got too much 250, you might cut 250 to make it sound more in balance. Okay, so here we go. Ooh, you know what? I put this on 6 dB. I'm going to take it back to 12 dB for you. Okay. Did you have
an
an
answer first?
Yeah. Did you have an answer?
I think it's 2K.
Hey, all right. Let's stick to 6 dB because you're correct, I believe. So let's just go through that one more time for the audience watching. So that means that if we 2K here, it's going to counteract what's on channel C. So let's do it here in order. Nice. All right. Hey, I didn't
Let's
need to take it
go.
down to 12 dB. Okay. Let's stick at 6 dB here again, okay? And you're not a member currently, are you?
No, I'm not, but I was
Okay,
just
cool.
mixing before this.
Nice. All right, so you warmed up. Do you see how this
Warmed
could
up.
be beneficial, though, and how this framework can help?
Oh, totally. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, and you can access, I believe the free version of this has what I've demonstrated so far. If you're interested in the curriculum later on, you can join and get access to like that 30 weeks, or, there's a 15-week level, and once you pass that, you get access to another 15 weeks of
This is my
progressive
first
training.
time. Yeah, this is my
Nice.
first time seeing it, so I'm excited.
That's good. And I mean, for me at least, when my teacher first introduced me to this, I like went outside and I started hearing like cars, like it's like, oh, that's 1K, or like I heard there's some E there, there's some ooh,
There's some
And so-
practice everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do another round here of acoustic guitar, 6 dB peaks. Okay. All right, what do you think?
It was a little tougher. I think I'm gonna go with 500, Bob.
500. Man, I love that. You're dating me. That's an old school reference, and you're showing my age here. I think it's Drew now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is Drew
Okay.
now. Yeah.
All right, so here we go. And what is your name, by the way? Just should we refer to you as Guitar Famar here?
My name is Sean. They call
right,
me
Sean.
Sean Z.
Sean says it's 500 hertz. Let's see if he's correct. We're going to apply 500. And again, as a recap, that would mean that there's a minus 500 hertz, or minus 12. I'm sorry. Pushing this button here applies a minus 6 dB filter on channel C. And if there was a plus 6 dB boost to channel B, then the C move would counteract it. And if not, then we're going to have C having a boost somewhere still, but then also we'll hear your minus 500. Okay, so let's demonstrate this. So it's interesting. When we went from C to A, if you had it correct, it would have sounded the same, but it didn't sound the same. And I actually heard almost when we went from C to A, I almost heard O pop out. And that makes sense, right? Because we cut 500 from C, and then we went back to flat, and that 500 was no longer cut. And so our ear can grow adjusted to this pretty quickly. So when you cut something, and then you take it back to flat, it actually sounds like you're boosting that same thing. Is that making sense?
Totally.
Okay. So let's go through that again just so others can hear. So let's say we've been listening to C for a while with that 500 cut, and then we go back to A and listen for that boost at 500 hertz. Yeah. And I've been practicing for a while, so it almost makes my mouth go like, make the shape. And that's something you can do over time. You can start to learn how these vowel sounds actually feel in your mouth. And then when you hear something, you can kind of like mimic it, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm making an ooh or an o shape. Okay.
I thought I was just hungry, but I think I feel it in my
Yeah,
cheeks.
I'm starving, trust me. So what we know, because A and C don't match, 500 hertz was incorrect. So instead of going back to C, I'm going to go back to the mystery again and listen for a vowel sound popping out, okay? And in the comments, let us know what you guys think. All right. What do you guys think in the comments? I see 4K, someone said. What else do we have here? I see a 500. We know it's not 500 from earlier when we applied that. Sean, any ideas?
It's a tough one. At first I thought I was going to change my answer to 250, but I think I'm going to go with 1K.
1K? Okay, so we'll apply that here, and we'll listen. So if you're correct, C should be the same as flat. Well, it still sounds a little bit different.
It does.
Yep. And
I need more training.
That's all right, but it's funny because I think it's the same one as your first one. I think it's 2K, and it's just weird how you can kind of psych yourself out, right? Because the first time when 2K came up, you were like 2K, bam, and I was impressed. I won't lie, especially because of your first attempt at this. But I think it is 2K again, and just to verify that now, A and C should match. So it is 2K. And after you've answered a question, just if anyone decides to go try this out, you can still toggle here, because you don't have to be like, oh, I got it wrong, next one. You can really like say, did I get it wrong? What does that actually sound like? So now this gives us, go ahead.
I think it's really useful to go to the different instruments too, because 2K kind of sounds a lot different on a guitar than it does on a drum or
100%.
Something with more bass.
I completely agree with you. And even to the point where, like, let's go back to those drums, to the point where, like I was saying, the 4K on this actually doesn't sound like the drums are changing as much as just the air around it. Let's listen to that. And so obviously, what is the air in that recording? The air is kind of the decay of that ride cymbal, and even on the snare, you can kind of hear the part of it.
Almost like a looser snare bottom or
Yeah, like more like a looser snare itself. It's rattling longer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Let's see. We've still got Brian in the lobby here. And we'll go to him next, but Sean, I want to introduce the compression side of this to you.
Oh, beautiful.
Bit, okay. So is compression something that you find you kind of struggle with?
Not as much anymore, but I'm also wearing AirPods, not my
Yeah.
Sony's.
Oh
So
man. Yeah. All right. So everybody
we'll
go
see
easy.
how it
Go easy
goes.
on Sean here because he's using AirPods. But let me first ask, because I believe there are many, many ways to get better at audio. And it's not just like you have to do this. People got by for a really long time without having this software, so this is another way to train. But I'm curious, you say not anymore. What did you find was one of the helpful ways that you learned compression and like how to hear compression?
Um, Doing it on something really simple. So I do a lot of voice recording, like narration. So when I started doing that, it kind of helped uh, with music as well, because being able to hear it on something as simple as just a spoken word kind of helped me pick out what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear compression until you really get the hang of it. So starting with something singular is a lot easier than throwing compression on a whole mix or something.
Yes, I agree. And I think that for me, it's like there's the compression. It's almost two different things, like compression on a percussive instrument, like a snare, versus hearing compression on a more resonant instrument, like a bass or like a voice or something.
Totally.
And like here, I wish I had my camera working, but I could put a compressor on myself and we can listen. First off, I get a little louder, right? Because I have some makeup gain on here. Let me actually turn that down. Okay, so now I'm compressed, but I think with voice, one thing that really comes across is like too long of a release time. Because if I am under the threshold and I turn the release really high, and then I get above the threshold, and if particularly I turn the threshold down, then you can kind of hear that it ducks my voice and it doesn't return quick enough, right? But if I turn that release down, it does catch me still, but then it returns when I get quieter, right? There's not that pumping sound.
Yep.
And then I think also on the attack side, let me get a more realistic release here. On the attack side, it can be a little bit easier to hear attack, in my opinion, on a snare or something. So here's a really short attack that's saying that it is catching me right when I go over the threshold, versus if I make this a little bit longer, you can hear that it's a little bit more natural. It's sort of like letting my voice come through and then it's starting to compress, right? But I agree with you. One of the ways that I learned compression was by editing my videos. And I was sitting here going through and like you can get to a point where you've compressed it so much that it almost sounds distorted. Have you ever come across that?
I still have a hard time hearing distortion when it's starting to come on,
Yeah.
because it can be so subtle
It can
sometimes.
be so subtle. And when it's subtle, it can be kind of cool. When it's not subtle, it can be cool too sometimes. But like the compression, like the faster the release and the faster the attack, the more distortion there will tend to be. The lower the threshold and the higher the ratio, the more distortion there will tend to be. Oh, did I misspeak? Someone seems to kind of be correcting me, and I may have very well said the wrong thing. But yes, this is correct. Transients come through with a slow attack. And that's what I thought I said, but I just wanted to be clear. So I'm asking you this because I kind of want to illustrate that compression is, in my opinion, like a longer process of learning. With
And
an go ahead.
I kind of feel like taking it one step at a time, really seeing what just the attack does, or just just the threshold does, helps a lot.
Completely agree on this. So, and that's why I designed this the way I did. So if we go to the compression side, the way this works is instead of saying I want to use these different frequencies like we would with EQ, we can go to settings and we can say, okay, in this lesson, I just want to work on attack, right?
Beautiful.
Or I just want to work on ratio. So let's start with ratio, because it'll mean that all other factors are even. The threshold will be the same, the attack will be the same, the release will be the same. We'll do drums again. And then what we're going to do is we'll read this question. It says, which compressor has the higher ratio? Now keep in mind there's somewhat of level matching going on here. Okay. But it's kind of tricky to do that, to be honest, in a programmatic sense. So it may actually change perceived level. I would always recommend when you're A/Bing things, make it sound the same level and then go back and forth and listen to the tone. But I'm still trying to really master that here in this software. But just we're listening for which one sounds more compressed. You know, the ratio is higher. And it's either going to be A or B. So we're going to listen, and it will be compressed from the beginning. And then we'll go to B, and we'll say, is that more compressed or less compressed? Okay?
Okay.
Ooh, both of those are very compressed.
They are.
Yeah, but I think that that's another good way to learn, is that you start with kind of like a more compression that you probably would use otherwise. And I think that's often where that excessive pumping or distortion comes out. And when you make yourself aware of that, then you can identify it quicker when it comes up more subtly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So of those, which one do you think has a higher ratio?
It's a little tough because A almost sounded more distorted to me, but like I said, I'm kind of terrible with distortion. But I think B was more compressed because it felt like there was even more pumping going on, dipping in volume. So,
Nice. So let's say
yeah,
B
we'll
here,
go with
and we'll
B.
see if you're right. Okay, you were correct, and that's what I was thinking as well. So let's instead of just moving to the next question, let's listen to that and really drive it into our brains. Like, this is what a higher ratio sounds like, all else equal. Okay. Yeah, for me, it's that snare really comes. It's like very, very spongy sounding, even on A, and then on B, it becomes even more so. What I think this is particularly useful for practicing is attack, and I think that that's the thing with compression that makes it so much more difficult from EQ. You know, EQ is kind of like there's like two variables. There's what frequency and how much is it boosted or cut. There's obviously the width, the band width, but that seems to follow naturally from the others. In compression, you've got ratio and attack and release and threshold. And the really confusing part is that all of those impact another. You know what I mean? And so I think really reducing this down to one element at a time, just like you said, you came to that naturally, and I think I completely agree with that. It's like focus on one thing at a time, and then you can identify what knob on the compressor you can use when a real world situation comes up that you think, oh, compression could fix this. So let's try here. With attack, it's going to be, is compressor B's attack faster or slower than compressor A? So if we were to, and I hope you don't mind me being a little like Socratic here, like I have a feeling you know the answers, and so I'm going to ask you questions to get the answers. If
Sure.
if the attack is slower on B, how would you expect the transient of the drums to sound different versus a faster attack?
To the ear, I would think that it would sound a bit louder at first.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, so like that transient's going through before the compression clamps down on it. It's a
Yeah,
slower attack, which provides more time for that transient to come through. Yeah,
totally.
that's exactly what I was looking for. And so let's see which one has a faster attack, okay? And it's going to, in this case, is compressor B's attack faster or slower than A? Okay. And for this first one, let's just talk through it so that everybody can learn from this one, okay? Like,
Sure.
when I listen to A, I hear those transients come. When I go to B, I feel like they never even had a chance. You know, they just got clamped down from the beginning. Are you hearing a
I was
similar
gonna
thing?
say this I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yep. So let's play that again so that the audience can learn from that, and just listen for this, everyone who's watching. Okay. So they're clamped down a little bit, but compared to B. Listen to that snare. So I think it's B. Do you think it's B as well, Sean?
Yeah, and I was also going to say that uh, the snare and the kick, I kind of more hear the kick, but
Okay.
in B, it doesn't feel like that same amount of pump that you get when there's a difference. It all
Yeah.
kind of feels the same. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that could be a taste thing, but
Yes. Okay. So let's select the answer. Oh, oh, I said the wrong thing. I clicked the wrong answer. We were saying that it was faster, so we were on the right track. My dexterity failed us in this case. But let's listen to what Sean was saying there in the kick. Okay. So for the snare, I hear a cleaner transient on A compared to B. And then Sean was saying that the timbre of the kick actually changes as well, and especially in relation to the pumping you were saying. And the pumping might be that, like, when the kick goes above the threshold, everything gets pulled down, cymbals and everything included. Is that what you were going for?
yep,
Okay,
exactly.
let's listen to this. And were you actually saying that on A, there's less pumping?
I was saying on A, there seems to be more pumping,
More pumping. Okay.
and on B, the kick seems to be more stable without any volume difference,
Nice.
at
Okay.
least to the ear. Yeah.
And something else I noticed was that on that snare, it's like with that transient gone, because the attack on B is so fast, the transience is gone, but the body, the meat of the snare is still there. And so it almost
Totally.
makes the snare sound darker. Did you hear that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So I will try to click the correct one, but I appreciate you being such a good sport here, Sean, and I'll
Yeah,
take
it's
you
been
off
fun.
screen here. Yeah, yeah. There's a link below. It's free to try out the EQ side. The compression is just for members only for right now, as I'm getting it built up. But yeah, have
I'm gonna
a
pin it to my tabs.
nice. All right. All
Right
right.
on. Thank you so
Nice
much.
to meet you, man. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and bring Brian up here next. Brian, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Nice. Thank you for joining. And would you prefer to try out the compression or the ear training or the EQ side?
Maybe the EQ. Let's try the
EQ?
EQ.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to, let's see here, identify. Yeah, we'll start with matching here, okay? And what I want to do this time is, let's see if we can just do the mids again. And we'll start you with 12 dB as it is default. And then if you get a few right, we'll move you down to 6 dB. Okay, you up for the challenge?
Yep.
All right.
Let's
Any
go.
preference on instrument? You know, we've tried the drums already. We've tried acoustic guitar. You can definitely try one of those as well.
What about bass? Can we try bass?
Yeah, we can try bass. The bass is kind of distorted in this clip. Okay, if I remember
Uh-huh.
correctly, the one I used. Let's hear it. It's extremely distorted. So,
Yeah.
and that's actually going to work to our favor, because if you just had a very mellow bass, it wouldn't have those harmonics that were higher up that would be excited by like a 2K or a 4K.
Right.
I shouldn't say excited. It's really more of like an accentuation that the EQ is doing, because the frequencies were already there. But let's try this out, okay? So we'll go, A is going to be dry, B will be the target, and you let me know what filter or what frequency you think is being boosted, okay? And in the comments, let us know as well. flat again. Okay, did you hear a vowel sound pop out to you?
I heard an ah.
Okay,
And that,
nice.
I think, what does that correspond with? That corresponds with,
Yeah, the text is pretty small here, but that ah corresponds to 1 kilohertz.
yeah.
Yep. So let's we'll go through this in order, but I want to let the people watching this agree or dissent here. Do you think that Brian is correct in saying that ah is boosted on channel B? Let me know in the comments, and then we will submit the answer and find out. Nice. Okay, you were correct. Nice. And I think that that really comes out nicely. And honestly, in bass mixing, do you mix music, Brian?
I'm a student that currently goes to school for this, who's doing audio engineering, so majoring in audio engineering actually.
Nice.
I do sound for my church actually.
Cool.
And so and I definitely I've heard a lot about your because my teacher was actually showing me how to actually use this.
This tool?
Yeah, no, like using like the vowel sounds.
Great. Good.
Yeah. So it's
And
been really helpful.
That's good. And I think for me, and I've done a lot of live mixing as well, like you're doing at your church. And for me, bass, you're often like, I hear the bass when I turn it up loud, but then it kind of is too loud, you know, in the low frequencies. But then when I turn it down to where it sounds good in the low frequencies, I can't hear it at all, right?
Right.
And actually, it's lucky that 1 kilohertz came out as the first question, because I've found that that's a place you might not initially think of as bass, but if you start to listen to different records, that ah part is actually where the bass can cut through in not the bass frequencies. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had some luck by either removing a little bit of that overwhelming muddiness in the lows, and therefore in relation kind of boosting the mids, or by straight up boosting the mids. And then that allows me to have the bass fader a little bit lower maybe, and the bass still comes across, you know, in a place where there's not so much traffic. Because if you keep trying to boost and boost and boost the lows, it's going to start getting in the way of the kick drum. It's going to maybe mask some of the body of the snare and the guitar, etc. Right? Let's do another round with bass. Okay, here we go. All right. Anyone in the comments, or Brian, what do you guys think?
I think I'm hearing an ass sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like like that a 2 kilohertz is what that would correspond to. Yeah. And before I click that here, I think this is another, bass is such a good, I think, demonstration for this, for hearing different frequencies, because of what I was just saying with ah being that it's sort of like a growl, you know, and often it's between ah and o, you know, maybe like 800 hertz area gives you that like ah kind of sound. It's a growl. Whereas 2K, I think you're correct on this. 2K gives you a different quality of it. And I want to challenge you to hear and identify what part of the bass tone or the bass instrument is changing and telegraphing that A sound. Okay, let's try it again. So Brian was correct. It was A. But I'm curious, in the comments, let me know, and also Brian, just let me know, do you hear a certain part of the bass coming out? I think there are multiple correct answers here, so don't be afraid. Honestly, it's entirely subjective, and so you couldn't possibly give me an incorrect answer, so long as it's an honest one. Kind of hard to put your finger on it, right?
It's kind of hard. Yeah.
Yep, and that's okay. Do you have any ideas, or do you want to hear what I think?
I want to hear what you think.
Well, so actually, Arco, one of our members, he put this that the distortion changes.
Oh yeah, I
And
can
so
definitely get the distortion.
Yeah, so let's listen to that. The
Yeah.
distortion changes, Arco says, and let's hear this. Yeah. Yeah, and so it's similar like that growl, but it's a little higher, and using subjective terms that ultimately mean nothing, I would say it's more like a bite. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that might come across a lot in an electric guitar too. And then we also see another viewer here says the pick goes up, and that's what I was really hearing, is that pick sound. So let's hear that. Right? Do you hear that, the actual pick or the finger on the string?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that is something in my experience that comes up a lot with bass and also with kick drum, which is that like the kick drum, for example, can have enough bass, like I was saying earlier with the bass, but then it can kind of still be buried in the mix, especially if you're mixing a song to be played on a phone.
Oh yeah.
You know, and because then the phone, it might have sounded great on your speakers because you've got that low end telling you the kick drum's there, but then you play it on a phone and it's like, where's the kick drum, right?
Yeah, I'm using headphones, so
Yep.
I don't
And
have
so
I don't have speakers, so
Yeah, and your headphones can probably produce that low frequency to a degree. It just comes
Yeah.
across different. And so then now you're
Right.
dealing with even more variables. Like the idea is, how do I get this instrument to be heard no matter where it's played? And I
Right.
think one good way to do that with kick drum is to think not so much the resonance of the kick itself, but also like the batter, you know, that batter sound. And I think that range often falls between, let's say, 1.5 kilohertz and 6 kilohertz or so. You know, like that kind of sound.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I think the same can be said for bass, like we just heard. If the bass isn't coming across on small speakers, then adding distortion kind of helps because it actually creates more frequencies higher in the spectrum. But then also maybe instead of like, oh, I can't hear the bass when I take it to my phone, so that means that I need to boost the bass in my mix and then render again. Well, maybe not, because now on a system that can produce those low frequencies, maybe the bass is too loud. What I've found to be helpful is if I can hear the bass perfectly on full range speakers or headphones, but then when I take it to a laptop or a phone, I can't hear the bass or the kick, I tend to think not turning the thing up or down entirely, but like reinforcing a higher frequency that smaller speaker is more capable of producing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, all right, Brian, nice job. Nice work. Did you want to do another round, or are we calling it there?
I think we're calling it here.
All right.
All right.
Well, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so that link is still in the description. I'm sorry, the link is still in the comments for jumping up here and joining. But as we're waiting for someone else to join, let's just go through a few more rounds. And also, let me stay on here for another few minutes. I got to jump off. Man, time really flew. But if you have any questions about ear training, leave a comment with question marks in it so that I can see it and hopefully get you a good answer. Let me just read through some of the discussion that's been going on here. I love to see this, that everyone's talking about. Yeah, so one person asked, are there more ear training videos like this? Yes, there are. I have several ear training videos Just search Audio University ear training and you'll find that. But if you are interested in getting a guide that talks about all of the things I've discussed here, plus a few more, there's a QR code there. There's also a link in the description below for the ear training guide. Excuse me. And what that'll do is it's basically just a PDF that will show you which vowel sounds apply to which mid-band frequencies. And then it also gives you cues to identify the low frequencies, 63 hertz and 125 hertz, and the high frequencies, 8 kilohertz and 16 kilohertz. I don't mean to withhold that from you or anything. I have that in my videos as well, and I'll say it right here. The low frequencies tend to be haptic. So 125 hertz you tend to hear or feel in your chest, and 63 hertz you tend to feel in your abdomen. Obviously, that's easier when you're using a system that produces those really well. But even if you're using headphones, in my experience, I can almost have a phantom feeling in my chest when I hear 125 hertz boosted, and a phantom feeling in my abdomen, even though the sound is all pent up in the cans. I think that's from years of being in live sound situations and kind of like associating that heard sound with the haptic sound that comes from those subwoofers. And then on the high frequency side, again, you can download the ear training guide to remember all this stuff. But the high frequency side is more of a sibilance rather than the vowel sounds. So 8K tends to sound like a pure S sound. S, s, s. And then 16K, an octave higher than that, tends to sound more like a tss, 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 almost like a T and an S mixed together. Tss, tss, tss. And so, yeah, download the ear training guide right there. Try out the ear training lab right here. If you don't have a camera to scan those, there's also a actual link in the description below. Let's move on to a question, if there are any. Okay, here's Arco. He says, what is RTF memory? That's a good question. So in the ear training lab, when you go in, you'll see on the EQ side, there's identify, matching, RTF, which stands for return to flat, and RTF memory, which is return to flat for memory. And the difference is, in return to flat, I can go in here and it says B has an EQ applied. Apply the opposite on C to cancel it out. And at the end, C and A will match. I'll demonstrate that one more time for those just joining. Actually, let me go to drums because that's going to come across for beginners better. Even though Brian was kind of crushing it on the bass. Nice job. Okay, so A. I hear 2 kilohertz A popping out. So when I apply the opposite filter here, A and C now match. Okay, and I can submit the answer. Now, where RTF and RTF memory differ is actually a really important part that can be really challenging for beginners, but as you take our course and you get better and better, we do introduce RTF memory. And so the difference is, once you go away from A, you can't go back. And so what that means is that you can't compare C to A again to make sure they match. You've just got to trust what you're actually hearing. Okay, so we'll try this. So now I can't go back to A, but I know that I hear a O sound. And I think it's 500 hertz, and it is. So to answer your question, Arco, that is the difference between RTF and RTF memory. And at 12 dB, at these octave bands, it's not so challenging. But when you get into return to flat memory with multiple filters of plus or minus 6 dB, it can get really challenging, especially when you start getting into the third octaves where you can be close but not quite there. So yeah, keep going. As a member, you've got access to that and the ear training lab. You'll progress and actually get to the point where RTF memory is a part of the practice. All right, I'm looking for a few more questions here before we get into the next round. Here's a question that says, hey Kyle, one last thing. How can I better improve my mixing with your ear training sheet? Like, how do you better utilize it? And this is actually from Brian, who just joined us on screen. Brian, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, was that you that asked the question?
Yes.
Okay, so let's, if you don't mind, let's talk about it here. Help me explain what you're looking for with this question, and I'll help give you an answer.
Well, like, what's like, because my ears are still like, I'm still trying to train my ears with using this technique. But how can I like use it like better, like to like mix, like feeling more confident? I guess it's just a matter of just practicing more, learning how to.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You're saying like,
Yeah.
how do I actually use this knowledge to get better at mixing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that the way the training works, at least the way my teacher did it with us, is we just, we were expected to already be mixing by the time we got into this course,
Uh-huh.
So the idea is not that you just do this for a few weeks and then start mixing. It's like, kind of what mixing feels like. And you do this consistently, maybe, for our members, we recommend doing like 3 sessions a week for like 20 minutes each session. So a total of 1 hour per week, but spread out. And then, so what you'll start to do is you'll get better at identifying and matching. And you'll you'll kind of be tying this, connection in your brain. When I hear A,
Yeah.
I think 2 kilohertz. When I hear E, I think 4 kilohertz. And then when you're in your mix, before you start this, you might hear a guitar and you're like, oh, that's like, it's bitey, it's harsh, But then you play the guitar again, it's like E, 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 you know what I mean? Like, wow.
Yeah.
Now that's E.
Yeah.
So I know that where I'm hearing this is somewhere between like 2 kilohertz and 4 kilohertz.
Right.
And then you start saying, okay, I hear E, make the E go away if you don't want the E, And so you go up to 4 kilohertz and you cut 4 kilohertz and that kind of goes away, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it's applied, you're basically like building reference points with your brain here to hear like an excess or a lack of a certain frequency or a certain vowel sound. And then when you're in your mix, it's obviously not so cut and dry like it is here, where it's like, here's what's correct, and then here's what's wrong, and then what was it? Mixing is more like you get the recordings you were sent, or you recorded your instruments, and that's what you got. And the guitar may start out feeling kind of muddy, but like, what is muddy? And I hear it playing, and it's, is it ooh? Is it oh? Is it neither of those? Is it actually a lack of E or A? And it's kind of like, I would say, it's like, imagine you're a painter that doesn't know what the colors are called, and then you get a device that's not like, you don't get to see the color and you just tap the red. It doesn't really matter if you know what it's called or not. You wipe your brush in the red and you put red,
Yeah.
But imagine that palette was just a bunch of knobs, and it said red, blue, green. And like, if I don't know what those are called, then I have to just experiment until I find what sounds right, which is a way to mix. You can do that. Many people have done it really well.
Yeah.
But if I learn what red means, I don't necessarily have to see it on the palette. I can turn the red knob up and it get the effect that I want, And that's kind of what this is. You're learning an objective language for what these sound cues sound like.
Mhm.
And the good thing about that is that your equipment, the EQ plugin you're using, uses objective language. You know, it's got a
Right.
knob that goes between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz, and you've got to go somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's really more of like an organic thing where you're just establishing a more reliable connection between what you're hearing in reality and the vocabulary to describe it, so that then you can, first off, talk with people at your church, you know, about like, hey, somebody says, hey, it's bright, you know, and
Yeah.
you listen to it, and it's like, well, bright could mean a bunch of different things, but yeah, when I
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
this in the mix,
Yeah.
it does sound a little bit bright in that
Yeah.
there's more E than I would prefer. And so what do
Yeah.
you do then? If E is too
Right.
high, then you would reach for which frequency?
What would I reach for?
E corresponds to 4 kilohertz. And so you
So
might reach
that
for the 4K and turn it down a little bit.
so that's like around the mids or the highs, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another way I think that this could be useful for you is by going to the Learn tab, and then you see it on a kind of like what you'd expect from
Yeah, on a
plugin.
mixer.
You can
Yeah.
see like E is right there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that area is probably, if I hear too much E, that's where I'm going to cut first. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the same sort of goes for the compression side as well. You start to hear, like we were saying, you want to practice one thing at a time, preferably. And so it's like, okay, today I'm going to work on attack. And you play the attack, and it's like one of these is going to sound, you start to learn what attack is. Like if you get into this
Yeah.
and you don't know what attack really does, then you don't know what to listen for. But if you play this for a while, we say, you know, which one's faster or slower. That one's kind of subtle, actually, in the attack difference.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that you're basically just going to listen for which one of these has a cleaner transient. You know, I know that when the attack is slower, that gives more time for the transient to poke through, as opposed to a shorter attack, which is going to catch that transient right away.
Yeah.
You know, and you just
Yeah.
start to develop an ear for this sort of stuff and a language to describe it. Even if you're not talking to other people, you're describing it to yourself. So you're like, man, this snare drum keeps clipping, you know, and if I turn it down altogether, it just gets too quiet. But like maybe if I shorten the attack a little bit, I can catch that very, very top transient without losing too much, you know?
Right.
And you start knowing what to listen for. And then on the release side, you start to listen for things like pumping or room sound. Let me show you what I mean. So it's pretty subtle, and I like, nothing against you if you can't hear it, especially over YouTube, but on A, it sounds like the
Yeah.
room sound is a little bit louder. Okay, so let's hear this again. Here's B. Hear how the snare almost lasts longer?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what that tells me is that the release is shorter because it's compressing it and then letting it up really fast so that the snare can be loud. Whereas on B, it's kind of like compressing it and holding it down, which makes the snare seem shorter, right? And so I've picked this up over the years by basically experimenting in my DAW, which is a great way to do it, or experimenting at your church on your live mixer. Great way to do it. That's the way to do it, you know? But this is another more controlled way to do it so that you can actually say, I want to practice for 20 minutes listening for attack. Because at a church show or any show or during a mix or something, you're not necessarily given that opportunity to
Right.
say like, you know, hit the snare drum 100 times while I sit here and try to experiment with this, you know?
Yeah. No
You
way.
could do that in a DAW. You could just play it, but this is really kind of engineered to give you exercises to
And
move
I
toward
think
that.
the convenience thing about digital mixers, I can just record to my digital mixer there,
Yeah,
and I can just bring my flash drive in, plug in my flash drive, format it, and then we have an Allen and Heath there at my
nice,
church, so QU24. So
cool.
all I would really just do is just plug in my USB drive, and then just record all the channels, and I can just experience them within my DAW. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love that.
And I think that might be, like then I can just try different things,
Yes,
that'll
and
give me
it's
more
like,
time.
and anyone wanting to do what Brian's describing, if you search virtual sound check, that's what that's called,
Virtual
where
sound
you like
check.
record
Yeah.
multi-tracks and then the band
Yeah.
leaves and then you play those
Yeah.
multi-tracks through the console as if the band's there,
Yeah.
but they're not
We
there, it's
don't
just you
well, we don't
practicing.
have like at my church we don't have like a Logic session that's set up where we like record from the console.
Yep.
Well we just we basically just like I wish, we can have something like that, like a virtual sound check where we can just like play back and
Yeah, well, and I
hey,
mean, does your Allen and Heath mixer have a USB drive that can record multi-tracks itself? Sometimes,
that's what I was
yeah,
saying. It
yeah,
does. It
yeah,
does. It has one of those that I can just
yeah.
plug in and I can record like the last time I did it was just, recording whatever went over the master. But like I can record like, all 32 channels if I wanted to. So
Yes. And I think
yeah.
that's absolutely
Yeah.
a great way to practice. And what I don't want people doing, look, I think that our members can learn faster than if they weren't members, and I stand behind that.
Right. Right.
Our membership costs money, and I get that, and some people have that to invest into
Yeah.
learning faster, and some don't. So by no means am I saying if you ever want to be successful, you have to become a member. Definitely not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, more essentially, what I'm saying, and what I've been saying for years, even before we had a membership,
Uh-huh.
was that like I just don't want people to watch YouTube videos and think that that alone is going to make them better, you know?
No,
And
yeah.
there are different ways to practice. Like this ear training lab is one way to practice for our members. The troubleshooting lab, I don't know if you've seen
Mhm.
that. Have you
I
checked
don't
that
think
out?
I've checked. No, I don't know if I checked out your troubleshooting lab before. Is
Yeah,
it?
I think you'll like this, and there's a free version of that too. And while we're on the topic, I'll just go here, troubleshooting lab. You can go there. It's like audiouniversityonline.com/troubleshooting lab. In fact, let me just let me get this link for you, and I'll put it in the comments. Because this is another way to practice, without an audience being there. And here we go. So I'm going to put this in the comments, and then I'll show it on my screen in a second here. So I just added a comment down there for you, Brian, and for anybody else watching. That's the troubleshooting lab. This is the free version. We have a full version for our members, but what the free version looks like is this. And you can do a little introductory course here, or you can just go to free play. It's a fully functioning mixer, So we basically
Oh.
turn on the sound, and I can mute everything, and I can turn up their monitor wedge.
Oh yeah. You know what? I did. I saw that. Actually, I have saw that.
And you can actually work with some feedback suppression.
Yeah.
So this is my attempt to get people to practice. But again, it's like people made it a long time without this. And so by no means am I saying you have to be an Audio University member to practice. I'm just really glad to hear that you're thinking about, not only am I going to watch videos on how an EQ works or how a compressor works, but I'm actually going to try to do a virtual sound check and work on the mixer, because that's ultimately what you want to do,
Right. Exactly.
And that's why we created our membership in the first place, is like I was creating all of these YouTube videos, and believe me, I get it, dude. I wake up and there's 100,000 thumbnails in front of you, and it's easy to just fall into a rabbit hole of just watching video after video after video.
Yeah.
But I noticed that in the stuff I'm trying to get better at, that didn't actually make a difference. Like when I needed help and I searched for a video and then I watched the video. That helped me, and then I went and applied that stuff. And I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's ultimately what all of this stuff is about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, keep up the good work and try out the troubleshooting lab if you haven't done so already. The free version.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's free and I can try it out. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I want to be clear that the troubleshooting lab only works on desktop.
So yeah, I am working on Chrome here. So
Nice. And
Yeah.
there's a mini course in there for you, and then the free play where you can just play with the mixer, that's free as well. But
Okay.
then if you become a member, then you get access to more of these courses that'll teach you about mixing monitors and
Mixing
patching and
monitors,
things.
patching,
You get access to the
power.
ear training practice. For this, it's the same kind of thing. It's like the vowel sounds, but you're listening for the vowel sounds.
This is almost like in a live sound situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if I go here, I'll do guided at first. Now this is the full version, which will allow me to do as many of these rounds as I want. But the free version has at least a demo of this. But what this is it's like I'm ringing out my wedge. You know, the microphone's active. There's nobody singing on stage, and I'm turning this up. Oops, I have the sound off. Here we go. I'm turning this up. And I start to hear one of the frequencies go. But if you listen carefully, what frequency, what vowel sound did that frequency sound like? It's ah, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, and that's 1 kilohertz. So that ear training applies to not only mixing, but also ringing out wedges. And when you're in the middle of a show,
Oh, yeah.
and you hear
Yeah.
feedback come up, you can hear and you're like, "Ooh, that's 4 kilohertz," or somewhere around there, you know. And as if you're a member, you can also go by ear mode. So it's like, okay, I hear it's like ooh and a little bit of o. I'm gonna say it's closer to ooh than o. Oh, maybe I'm wrong here. There it is. It was just below ooh. So 200 hertz. And the idea is like I need to get this to 100%. That's at 1K again. Yeah. And then we're getting closer. E, maybe a little bit of S. Yep, right there, 5 kilohertz. So you can see after practicing, I can do this, you know, and if you weren't saying, oh, that's 5 kilohertz, that's kind of the point, is that
Right.
you can do this here, and it's a lot quieter, and you can do it in headphones and not bug anybody. Or if you're not in a place to become a member right now, you can go to your church and you can put up a microphone in front of a wedge, and you can just start turning that microphone up in the wedge, and over time you'll just identify what these are
Right.
based on whatever, based on memory or based on the vowel sounds. And actually, to wrap things up here on this question, somebody said it really nicely. Here we go. They said the training is creating ear-brain muscle memory. And I think that's a really good way of saying that. It's like when I hear this, I identify it as whatever objective term that the gear speaks, you know? So, all right. Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that totally did. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for
So,
joining.
I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
appreciate
take.
it.
I'm definitely gonna take a look at that troubleshooting lab and
Nice.
use it, and maybe even think about becoming a member as well.
Great. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Let me know if you have any questions. So if you email me at kyle@audiouniversityonline.com, then I can give you any questions about, answer any questions about the membership and stuff. A lot of people email me like random audio stuff, and I don't have time to really field all those emails.
Right.
But if you have questions about the program, I'd be more than happy to help you find answers, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, thank you for joining here, and let's see if I can get through a few more questions. Looking through, looks like there has been some good conversation or questions. This is an interesting, let me see here. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's well said. Practice is the way to master anything, and that is absolutely true. Oh, here. Could you give an example with no compression and just the EQ to make, let's say, room? Oh, I see. I don't really have my DAW set up for that right now, but I can explain an example. And one example might be like if you have a guitar that is very distorted and therefore has a lot of frequency content, or it has a lot of content across like the high, mid, and mid frequencies. Think a distorted guitar, it's got a lot of that noise sounding stuff going on. Alone, that guitar might sound perfect. But then when you put that guitar in a mix with a keyboard and with a vocalist and all these other things that are operating in that same range, that guitar might mask some of those other things. So what you do, or what you could do, one way to do it would be to, one way to do it would be just to turn down the guitar. One way to do it might just be to turn up the vocal. But at a certain point, you may run out of headroom to turn up the vocal, or when you turn down the guitar, you lose the balance in the lows, or when you turn up the vocal, now the vocal's too loud in the lows or something. So that's when you start to look at EQ to turn something up or down in a particular range. So if the guitar is making this broad, kind of distorted sound, and it's masking these other elements, well, then you might ask, like, where are those other elements? Where are they most prominent? And maybe I can just cut out a little bit from the guitar where the keyboard is popping through. Or maybe I can cut out a little bit of the kick drum is at a consistent frequency. And if that frequency is, let's say, 70 hertz, well, then maybe I just cut a little bit of 70 hertz out of the bass to make space for the kick drum. It's extremely difficult to give you a specific answer that will cover you in every situation, but that's sort of the point, and that's why this is fun, and that's why we do it. And I think it's like partly exciting that there are so many variables and so many situations where the answer could be one way or the other. It's partly exciting, it's partly daunting, and I get that. Like, especially when you're starting, you're like, oh, I'll never get good at this. But just keep practicing, and you'll get a harness of how these different frameworks work. Like, if instruments are stepping on one another, remove that frequency band from one of those instruments to allow the others to come through unmasked. That principle can take you really far. And there are a few other principles like that, where if you keep practicing, you'll learn those principles. And then that vast, like, undefined, infinite problems, kind of like characteristic of this work, it becomes exciting rather than intimidating. I truly believe that you learn the fundamentals, and then you apply that to any unique situation that comes up. A lot of people try to prepare for every unique combination of variables that could possibly occur. And that's just, you're going to spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos if you're trying to plan for every specific situation. In my opinion, I've gone a lot further by understanding some fundamental principles underneath everything and then applying those in different combinations to the various things that come up, right? Because then I can just learn the fundamentals and I can adapt rather than feeling like I need to watch video after video to learn specific situations and specific resolutions, and I never really get started practicing at that point. So I hope that was a good example that you were looking for there, Mark. I'm going to look for a few more questions. Going longer today than normal, but this has been fun. I appreciate everybody participating. Let's see, did we get through all these questions? Here's a question that says, what am I expecting to get out of membership? So I'm curious to know like Arco or Mac, if you have any input on that as members, feel free to leave that. I'll give you my spiel, which is that what you expect out of out of the membership is kind of 4 things. And let me just share my screen to show you. So when you become a member, you get access to our full course library. Okay, and that includes a Live Sound 101 course. It includes the Mixing Essentials course, the ear training course, and EQ with your ears. And the way I think about this is that this is the theory. You can find theory on YouTube if you don't want to become a member. YouTube videos tend to be shorter and sporadic. Like I said, my ear training videos usually just scrape the surface because they need to be accessible, even if it's the first thing you're hearing from me. But the ear training lab is longer, and it is meant to be consumed over a longer period of time, and therefore it's able to go deeper. The Mixing Essentials course, it is taught by Gabe Herman, who has a lot of years of experience mixing and teaching. He's been mixing professionally for 25 years and teaching at the University of Hartford for a really long time. So he's a great educator and he's a pro mixer. And in this Mixing Essentials course, he teaches you about EQ, compression, reverb, and delay. He teaches you what they are quickly at the beginning, and then he teaches you how to think about them, and then he runs through a full mix where he basically narrates what he is doing. And I got to caveat this because I've seen some like mix walkthrough videos from people who have a bunch of Grammys and are undeniably experts in what they do, but they're not educators. And so those videos can sometimes be like just long and they don't actually talk about what they're doing. That's why I really, really spent time looking for Gabe Herman, because he is an educator and he is really good at planning out the lesson and explaining what he is doing in clear terms. So, and then Live Sound 101, that's taught by me as well. That's where you're going to learn about signal flow and how live sound works, and how to set up speakers for success and things like that. That's the theory part of our membership. Excuse me. There's also a collection of workshops down here for members that talks on specific parts of different things, like mistakes to avoid in live sound, but taught by another educator who teaches audio production and is a professional live sound engineer and mixing engineer himself. You learn about transient shaping, these sort of deeper topics that go into more depth. If I click in here, you can see that we talk about like what are transients, and then we applies transient shaping to a kick drum, and then to a snare drum, and then to toms and the hi-hat, and then he looks at the full kit, and then he goes through and talks about it with the bass and the guitar, and that's what the workshops are. So that's thing number 1 that you can expect to get to the question, what can I expect when I become a member? You can expect theory for sure. But you can get theory on YouTube, although it might be less organized. So that's why the second thing we give you is practice, okay? And the practice, like I was saying to Brian earlier, like you can get practice at home, or get some tracks and put them in a DAW and mix them. You're practicing, and you don't have to be a member to do that. Go get a gig at a local club or at a church and practice setting up and mixing live sound. Those are important ways to practice, and even if you become a member, those can help you. But the way we offer practice to our members is with downloadable multi-track files. So you go here and we've got the download multi-tracks section, so you can actually get some files, put them in a DAW, or run them through a virtual sound check on your live console and practice mixing. That's one way to do it. We also have the ear training lab that I've been showing you this whole time. That's a way to practice as a member. And we've got the troubleshooting lab. This is the full version. You can see you can actually upgrade out to the 16 channel mode right here. So I've actually got a 16 channel mixer, and you get on the stage and you can practice routing with snakes and things, doing this stuff that emulates the actual experience of being at a show so that you can learn it here, make mistakes, make feedback, cut out something gets cut out and you have to find out how to fix it, and there's not a whole audience watching you. So that's the practice side. We got theory with the courses and the workshops, and we've got practice with the downloadable multi-tracks and with the ear training lab and the troubleshooting lab. So those are two elements, theory and practice. But then beyond that, Gabe and I we spent like weeks talking back and forth about how do you educate people on the internet. Gabe teaches people in person, and I went to a college where I learned in person. And a lot of the things that I learned in person are very difficult to actually teach to people online, especially if we're just doing YouTube, But so we thought, if we're going to make a membership and we want to make it different from YouTube, what do we need to do? And we basically came to the thought that we need theory, practice, feedback, and community. So we already talked about the theory and the practice, and the feedback side comes in a few different ways. First off, all of these community sections here, the chat, the conversations, the show your work, these are all ways that you can submit questions to us, Gabe and I, and the rest of the community, and get feedback on problems you're having. Like one of our members, Tanyani, he said he was at a show and was like, "Hey, I'm having my wireless is cutting in and out. Can anyone help me?" And I got in there and I said, "Have you run a frequency scan with the front panel? Have you checked that your antennas are placed in these correct positions?" And then got back to us and he said, "Okay, I tried those things. So far, so good. Everything's sounding clean." So that's one way to get feedback on your setup, like in live sound. But another way to get feedback in our membership is the mix reviews section. And here, members submit mixes in the comments here, they just say, "Hey, I've got this song," and they upload a WAV file. And then Gabe, who has a lot of experience mixing and teaching, goes through and creates I'm going to mute this so we don't get any copyright strikes and so we don't share our members' work. But he goes through and he helps you understand what's going on with your mix and what he hears and what he might try doing to make it sound better. And he's working with a stereo file, and he's like saying, if you use a little bit more EQ in this area, it might help fill in that spot. So he's looking at the stereo, but he recommends, like, if I were in your shoes actually mixing the multi-track, maybe look at the bass and see if you can use a little bit of saturation or whatever. He gives a really, really good feedback. They're usually about 20 minutes long like this. So he really puts a lot of thought into it. And then we have events where you can get feedback on things you're working with. That actually brings us to one thing that Arco just brought up. He's been a member for a long time, and he says, yeah, we have a live Zoom call with Kyle and other members where you can ask questions and hang out. And that's what you see here on Talkback Tuesday. By the way, I'll put a QR code up here if anybody wants to become a member or at least just learn a little bit more about what it's all about. But the Talkback Tuesday call is it's an hour. It's on Tuesdays. We go at different times so that we can reach you no matter where you are in the world. These are showing Central Time for me right now. So that's 1 p.m. Eastern, and this is 5 p.m. Eastern. And we just get in there and we hang out and we talk audio stuff. And we also have events, like this, where we have our members come up, and we have Ask a Professor, where you can ask Gabe and I questions. We basically just try to fulfill those different elements: the theory through the courses and workshops, the practice through the downloadable multi-tracks and the labs, the feedback through the mix reviews and the live events and the community forum, and then community, which you'll notice that when Arco said that we have the weekly call with Kyle and other community members, because all of the people in here, they get it. They are audio people, whether it's live sound or studio or film or whatever. they are going through very similar things as you. And, you know, the reason we really came up with these four things after discussing is because we tried to reverse engineer what the actual university experience is. Gabe gives a real university experience to his 30 students in a classroom or something, right? Or 12 to 30 students. And I went to a very similar program. It's an audio production program. You go and you sit and you learn and you use the facilities and things like that. And, you know, we can't give you access to facilities. That's one place where we're still falling short, because I don't have a big studio facility that the universities have. But you are probably using gear at your house or at a studio you work at or at a church you work at. So other than the facilities, I think that these are the most important things. I learned a lot from my courses when I went to school, and so we want to provide courses for our students. I learned a lot by applying what I learned there into the studios and using the facilities. So we want to empower you to use virtual facilities like the labs we've created. And also we want to empower you to download tracks and mix and actually put these things that you're learning into practice. I got a lot of value from getting feedback on my projects from experts who were my professors. And I got to bypass a lot of bad habits by mixing in front of my professors and them saying, ooh, you know, you'd be a lot better off doing it this way than this way. Or, you know, the way you did it could work, but what if you tried doing it this other way? So that feedback element we deliver through the mixed reviews and through the live events and through the live calls. And then the community. That was really important. I know it's kind of a buzzword these days, but every live sound gig I've gotten, every studio recording gig I've gotten has come as a direct result from the people I met when I studied audio in that program. And I recognized that some people, especially if you live in more remote areas of the country or of the world, you may not have access to an actual group of audio people in your area. So that's what we're trying to do with our community element. We're trying to build actual relationships with people who are doing the same thing that you're doing so that you can get tips from them, so that you can maybe work with them in the future. But at the end of the day, honestly, it's just so you don't feel so alone. I don't know, if you're anything like me, when I was in high school just getting started with this, I had my friends in my band and they loved audio, but outside of that, it was kind of hard to find people who really understood why I got so excited about this guitar sound or about this vintage compressor, you know? But like the people in our membership care about that stuff. And I don't know, if you feel that any of those four things would be helpful to you, again, QR code's right there. There's a link in the description. But the truth is that we got founded here at Audio University on providing free value over YouTube. And so here I am. You know, I'm not going anywhere. If joining the membership isn't right for you right now, have no fear, because I'm going to keep showing up for you. Because the reason we even have the ability to make a membership is because of the viewers who are watching right now, and the thousands of more who've supported us through the years. So, no pressure. If you're interested in learning more, there's the QR code. If it's not right for you right now, no worries. I'm going to keep showing up for you weekly and giving you free information. But it's going to be on you to do the practice, you know, and hopefully you have some sort of mentor or something that can give you feedback. And hopefully through all of those experiences, you can build a community of people who get you and understand you. So that's the answer to the question, what do you get as a all right. Well, I've answered all the questions here. We're almost at 2 hours. Wow. So thank you everybody for showing up. Yes, I agree. Sean here says, what a killer community. They get it. Yeah. And I think that goes for not only the tight community that we're building in the membership, but also just like everybody who's on YouTube, watching Audio University, watching Andrew Masters, watching Produce Like a Pro, watching Spectre Studios, watching any of the great creators that are out there. You know, I don't know. I look through these comments and I might be missing some stuff, but these people seem to not be like, they seem to not be talking shit on people, you know? They seem to be supporting people. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to see people saying, I don't want people to feel intimidated to learn. And part of learning is getting feedback. So I don't want people to feel like, oh, I'll submit a mix and then I get made fun of. That's just stupid. You know, it's counterproductive. And there's none of that in our membership because we can kind of control that. Now on YouTube, all bets are off. Like, you never know what a commenter is going to say from a bad place, you know, but I urge you that if you're even just participating in the community on YouTube, man, help people. Don't make fun of them. It makes no sense. That's one of my pet peeves. So I agree with you. What a killer community. Sean, thank you for that comment, and thank you for joining here and having bravery to come up here and try the ear training lab. Sean, you ask any idea on when you'll stream live again. I tend to do this every month, and I've done a few different formats. You know, I've done office hours, which is where I just get up and ask me anything. You know, I just try to give answers to questions. But this seems to be pretty popular, what we just did here. If anybody wants to do another round of the ear training next month, just leave a comment here and we'll see how many people are interested. And if that's something that you guys would join and do with me here again, then yeah, I mean, maybe that's the way we do it from here on out. It might even be cool to next month do a live stream where we open up the troubleshooting lab and we have people come up and solve certain problems in the troubleshooting lab, so that then we're still having that interactive experience, but it's more about like routing as opposed to just ear training. Nice. Brian says he's up for it. Yeah, Arco, I was just going to say, Sean and Brian, and I mean, it seems like a lot of people here would enjoy our community, so feel free. The community, by the way, you sign up and you get access for 90 days, okay? Because you kind of need to be working on this stuff for an extended period of time to see some results. But if within the first 30 days you feel like it's not for you, literally just email me and I will refund you your money, okay? Like, I don't want anyone to try our membership, feel like it wasn't good, and then not have a good feeling about Audio University as a whole. So if you're thinking about joining, but you're not sure, try it out. You know, try the first 30 days. If it's not for you, send me an email. No questions asked. I'll refund you. I'll be honest, the only time that has actually happened is when there has been a language barrier. You know, when someone doesn't speak English quite to the level that Gabe speaks in the course. And so that's been the case where I've issued a refund, but no one else has asked. And I think that tells you that people are finding it valuable, you know? So if you're on the fence, just join. And if it's not for you, send me an email within the first 30 days and I'll refund you your money. But if you decide to join, then we can take you where you need to go, you know? So let's see if there are any other questions here. Yeah, no, I get it, Sean. Yeah, like pay for the wedding. No, I'm there, dude. That stuff's expensive. So I feel you. And it may or may not be the right time. No worries. Okay. Well, I know I've said I'm going to log off a few times now, but this is fun and I keep getting wrapped back in. But this time I'm for real. Thank you, everyone. Links in the description below to learn more about all the stuff we talked about here. Try out the lab for yourself, and I'll see you next month. Thank you for joining.